Hello, Sam here. Trust you are well and having a good week. Really loving the series that we're doing on loving well. And so far, picked up a few things around love must be sincere, be devoted to one another in brotherly love, sharing with God's people. And last week, we looked at practice hospitality. And this week we looked at Romans 12 verses 14 to 21, really looking at more ways that Paul encourages us to love well. In particularly, we spent some time looking at rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That's verse 15 of chapter 12. And when it came to rejoicing with those who rejoice, it looks on it like on the face of it, it looks a very straightforward command to rejoice with those who rejoice and to celebrate with those who celebrate. But we know this can be tricky sometimes. At times we may not feel like rejoicing with those who rejoice. We may feel that actually those who are rejoicing don't deserve it. We may feel like those that are rejoicing actually shouldn't have what they want. And there's all sorts of complexities around rejoicing with those rejoices. But actually, Paul makes it clear that it's a command that we should follow if we're going to love well, if we're going to be a people and a community that really values each other and loves each other, that we're to love well through rejoicing with those who rejoice. And actually, we make that pride decision to rejoice with those who rejoice and to celebrate with those who are celebrating as well. It goes on to talk about mourn with those who mourn. And again, what looks like a very straightforward command can be quite tricky, because sometimes if you're like me, you don't quite know what to say. You don't quite know what to do when people are mourning. And we know that there are, people mourn differently culturally and personally as well, but some helpful things that we can do with those that are mourning is to listen, to be there, to pray God's peace and God's comfort and God's love over those that are mourning. We know that over the last year that many have faced difficult times, and that as we come out of lockdown, that many will be mourning, and we can give a listening ear, we can show up and be present, and we can pray for people during this time as well. So we looked at rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. As we looked further down this passage, wrapped around it was Paul's words of bless those who persecute you, and bless and do not curse. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, and do not take revenge, my friends. He then goes on to talk about, it said, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And somehow wrapped around this passage of rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn are the words of Paul, which are echoes of the words of Jesus. And what's really clear for me as I read this passage is that actually the rejoicing with those who rejoice and the mourning with those who mourn are not just for people that we get along with, but they're actually for everyone. The command is a command to rejoice. It's an enemy-loving command. It's agape. It's agape love. Paul's calling us to a love that's committed, a love that's passionate, a love that's always giving, even to those who we feel that don't deserve it. It's a countercultural love, and it's challenging. It comes with it's challenging as well. But look, enough from me. I hope you have a great week as you spend some time just thinking through what it means to rejoice with those who rejoice and how we can do that practically, mourning with those who mourn, again, and how we can do that practically as well. And finally, loving in a way that's countercultural as well, and looking at some practical ways we can do that. Bless you and have a great week. Speak soon.